Different this video. Hopefully it'll be of interest to some people, but in particular to one person. This bloke, who shall remain nameless, but let's just call him Bob, got to know him back in the mid to late 80s when I was working in industry and he was the technical rep for one of the suppliers. He is a gentleman from the UK, and he used to travel around the world to distribute the products that this company made, and they were very good products, and this bloke was very good at his job. Got to know him quite well, and he came back quite a few times over the years when I was working in that industry, and got to know him well and enjoyed his company, so much so that at one stage we were on a trip to the UK and went and visited him, stayed at his house, and went for a tour around the Derbyshire moors or dales, whatever they're called, with this Bob and his wife, and a driving trip around on a Sunday afternoon, which was very pleasant. So I'm just going to show roughly what I remember of that trip, where we were. This gentleman lived just outside of Sheffield in a place called Rotherham, which is, hopefully you can see on the map here. And the area that we went to, that's about 40 kilometres over to this department over here, which is what they call the Derbyshire Dales, and sort of around this Peak District National Park we drove with him, and went to all sorts of interesting places, including this one here, Hathersage. If you want to Google what Hathersage has to offer, it's the burial place of Little John from Robin Hood and His Merry Men, and lots of interesting things we saw around there. I can't remember, of course, where Little John's. Oh, here it is. Well, it's the Little John Hotel, but it was somewhere around here anyway. But we got a good history lesson driving around with Bob. And we got to see a lot of the countryside. I seem to remember this river and a dam or something. Yeah, up here. A reservoir we went around the edge of, stopped for lunch around. Anyway, I had a lovely time. Why am I talking about all this? Because this has nothing to do with racing cars or driving simulators. But I thought, for the interest of Bob, I would take a drive around in the English countryside, but I can't do it in Assetto Corsa around this Derbyshire area, but I can go further north, a fair bit north, probably about 200 kilometres north, up into the Pennines area. And someone has very kindly built a simulation track, if you like, on public roads that starts out in Middleton in Teesdale, which I don't know whether Bob knows this area very well. It's a fair way away from Sheffield and Rotherham down here, but I got a feeling he probably has been up there, because there's other industries up there that he would have been servicing. So let's just have a quick look at where this circuit goes. You can drive it in either direction. I'm going to do a lap around it. It's about 50 kilometres, I think, around the loop. So it's going to take a little while to go around, and I'll break it up a little bit along the way. But anyway, we start in Milton in Teesdale, and it's basically driving on secondary rural roads around the B6277, I think it is, that we follow for this part of it. And we eventually come down into a very steep hill into a village up here. The name of the village escapes me, but it'll be apparent. And by that stage we're on the B6278, and following the roads. It's very scenic, and as you'll see, quite a pleasant burn around. But we come into this Stanhope area. This is a very distinctive part of the drive. You'll see when I get to that area. Then it goes out back into the following this river Wear, whatever, along this ridge here, and it's a pretty fast run through there if I don't crash too often. Past this East Gate area, and I'll stop and take the drone camera up and have a bit of a scenic look around as we're going along. Right through into here, I love the names of these places, Dadri Shield around here after we've crossed the river, and into this, what's this village called here, Weardale or something, I guess it's Weardale. There's quite a few signs along the road as we go. Then onto this Hearthrope Road, back heading south again now, and through more nice bushland area into Langdon Beck, and then we join back onto the B6277 through Langdon Beck, and it's really nice with stone pitched walls all the way along here, through Forest in Teesdale. You can still see the River Tees in the distance from some of these places, and then we come down past this. There's some interesting things along here. I'll stop and have a look, and then eventually following the River Tees all the way back along to where we started from. I might even stop at this free car park and have a look there. And where are we? I'm getting lost now. Through New Biggin, that's right, very nice name, and all the way back down to Middleton and Teesdale. So hang on, and we'll find a nice car to drive around this in and see what it looks like. Well, here we are at the start of our tour of the Pennines on the High Force loop. It's about 51 kilometres, so it's going to take quite a while. I'm going to try and do this in one continuous video for about 1 hour if YouTube lets me. And I'm in a Mazda MX-5. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning as this is recorded, and I've got it on a time acceleration of 8 times, so we'll see the sunrise and come into full daylight as we progress around the first part of the loop. So we're heading up out of Middleton in Teesdale, and I think this is called Town Head, this road, and that takes us onto a stretch of about 7 kilometres to take us from Middleton in Teesdale across to the place where it joins onto the B6278. We're just coming up to a tight little corner here where if we went straight ahead we'd be going to Snail's Gill, but we don't want to go there, we want to go to Stanhope, so we're going to turn right and off we go. You can see I've got an odometer running there, so we'll be able to keep a track of how far we've come. You can see there are 2 different map displays on the screen at the moment. One just to the right of the speedo is sort of the corners coming up, so you know roughly where you are on the track. The second one on the left is the whole loop, and you'll notice we are the green arrow, having just left that starting point at the bottom of the circuit there, but there are other yellow arrows and they represent other traffic that's on the road. So we're going to strike a bit of oncoming and overtaking traffic, which should make it a bit more interesting. while it's still fairly dark, I'm not going to try and do any great speed along here. I just want to stay on the road and not crash. The headlights on this Mazda aren't really very good either at this time of the morning. Wherever possible, I will try and stay on the left-hand side of the road and obey the road rules, although not in relation to speeding, probably. According to Google Maps, just off to the right hand side of the road here, we're passing by the Slaggy Syke and the Hordern Syke. Now, I had no idea what a syke was, so I had to look it up. But a syke is apparently a small stream or rill, typically one that flows through marshy ground and is often dry in summer. So there you go. Okay, now we're coming up to the intersection where we go left onto the B6278 and head towards Stanhope. Okay, we're on the B6278 now for about 10k until we get to Stanhope. Just wanted to take the chance to give a huge shout out to someone called Brun, I think that's how you pronounce it, who's the author of this High Force track. It's a fantastic contribution to the Assetto Corsa family, and I really thank him for putting it together. He must have spent a lot of time laser scanning and mapping the area. He's just done a terrific job. Brun has made a few other tracks too, and it's just great that people like him are around that really keep Assetto Corsa going as something that's probably 7 years old, I think, now. So well done. The sun will be rising soon, so I'm just going to take the chance to pull over onto the side of the road and go up in the drone and just have a look around and see if we can see the sun breaking through over the hills. In Assetto Corsa you can define the time of day you want to drive, but also you can define the time of the year. So in this case I've told it to take me around this circuit in mid-May, which is sort of into the springtime, I think, in this part of the UK. So there's still not much sun yet, but it's starting to come through. This probably should be typical of what it's like up in Yorkshire at this time of the year. It's a bit too dark in other parts of the sky to really see much, but we'll go back down and have a bit of a look at the car, and then off we'll go again. On the map you can see we've got an oncoming vehicle approaching, so I just better make sure I stay on the left hand side of the road now. Yeah, that was very hard to tell, but I happen to know that it was a Seat Leon, and I just realised how weird it is to be driving on the left hand side of the road in a left hand drive car. Well, we've got enough daylight now that the headlights can go off. There's not much really happening on the road at the moment, so I'm just going to skip a little bit and catch up on the next interesting part of the road. And we're still following along B6278. Now we've got the Jopla Syke just on our left there. Syke, incidentally, is spelled S-I-K-E, not P-S-Y-C-H-E or anything like that. Got about 5 or 6k left now down to Stanhope, so I'll just cruise along a little bit now and just admire the scenery. We're not far from Stanhope now, so I'll just cruise down into the town, and looks like there's a bit of traffic down there. We'll have to see what that's all about. Just pulling over to let a bit of traffic go past here. There's a couple of cars coming from both directions. The road gets quite steep just down here, so you've really got to take it quite easy. So now we've reached the town of Stanhope. Looks pretty nice. There's a little quiet drive through amongst the buildings. Then we go to the left along the River Wear and do a U-turn and come back on the opposite side. There must be some reason for that. Maybe a bit of local knowledge would help. This Volkswagen is one of the other drivers on the lap at the moment. He seems to have had a bit of a problem. Yeah, he's got a big problem. I think we'll just carry on. We're just coming along the edge of the River Wear here, and then turn around on 180 degrees and then head back along the other side into the main part of the town. And here we are at the beautiful village of Stanhope. And about now I'm starting to wonder, is this looking familiar at all to you, Bob? You better let me know, Bob. Now we're going to hang a left and head off towards St John's Chapel, which is about 8k down the road. Google Maps it looks like there's a couple of big quarries just down here before we get to Eastgate. One's on the left hand side, one's on the right hand side, but we won't have time to stop and have a look, as interesting as a quarry may be, but we'll just keep going. I apologise to the people of Westgate, but we've seen Eastgate. I'm just in a hurry to get to Dadry Shield, so we're just going to hurry through Westgate a little bit. I'm sure these place names mean something to the locals. And finally, here we are at the famous Dadry Shield, population 177. And now we're coming into St John's Chapel, which is much bigger. It's got a population of 307 at the last census, and it's well known as a lead and limestone producing area in the 17th century, but nowadays it's known as being part of the North Pennines area of outstanding natural beauty. Here's our mate in the Alpha taking off again. I should mention that all the cars on the circuit at the moment are, apart from my car, driven by the artificial intelligence. In other words, the software is controlling what they do, and by definition they have to obey the speed limits in the towns. But as soon as they get out of the town limits, they go like hell. Now we are on Hearthrope Road, and it's another about 10k run through to Langdon Beck. And I'll probably chop out a few little bits along the way here just to speed us up, get us down to Langdon Beck. That was a Caterham. Okay, now we're coming back onto the B6278, turning left and going onto Langdon Beck, which is just around the corner, and then back to our starting point at Middleton on Tees. In Assetto Corsa, this loop is known as the High Force, which I gather is probably named after the High Force Hotel, which is coming up on the left. Just there it is. Also in Assetto Corsa you can do races around the High Force loop, and this is the pit area for people going to race around the loop. So we'll just leave the High Force Hotel car park, come pit area, and head back through Bowlees and further on to finish our lap at Middleton in Teesdale. There's one final highlight of the High Force loop, and that's to drive through Newbiggin, and I wish I knew something about it. There's nothing on Wikipedia, so Bob or anybody else who's out there who knows a bit of information about Newbiggin, just pass it on. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little drive around the English countryside with all these beautiful trees and green and stone pitched walls. Yeah, it's been fun. So here we are back in Middleton in Teesdale where we started back when it was dark. Hope you've enjoyed the drive, and we'll see you later. We'll just do one last little look around with the drone and then sign off.